Tonight, the Minister for Mineral Resources, Tom Koutsantonis, has made some people very happy and some others very unhappy. The state government has refused to lift heritage restrictions that would have allowed the exploration for copper in and around the old Burra mine site. He argues it's about preserving broader community support for mining, but the industry says it now has serious doubts about this government's commitment to it. It's school holiday time and the old Burra mine has hit that most valuable of resources, something to keep the kids occupied. Are you glad your parents brought you here?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So they've done something right for a change, have they?
Yes. They usually do something right.
People here, Peter, we can hardly fit in.
For Peter Edson and Meredith Satchell from the local historical societies, this is where the town's future lies, in an appreciation of its past.
15 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of water every day that this...
How wonderful to keep a little community unique, and that's why people come here, because Burra is the way it is. It's preserved its heritage.
Burra was built on mining, but in recent months the town has been divided over whether mining exploration should resume in the state heritage listed mine site. Phoenix Copper wanted to drill here to see if there are still commercially viable deposits of copper. Those against the proposal argued that it would jeopardise the old buildings and the town's push for World Heritage listing. A town meeting voted 60-40 for Phoenix to be granted an exploration licence, but the Minister for Mineral Resources, Tom Koutsantonis, says that won't happen.
My instinct is always to allow mining, because mining helps create wealth, helps create jobs, helps create progress. In this case, it's a brownfield site, it's a historic site. It would have caused much consternation amongst the locals. Despite the public meeting, I think the unhappiness that it would have caused might not be outweighed by the benefit.
Well, I think it's really is a victory for common sense, because it preserves what we were desperately wanting to preserve, the heritage of a Burra mine reserve. It keeps open the application for the national and international recognition of Burra as a World Heritage Site, and it still, I believe, probably keeps open the possibility that Phoenix Copper can explore in areas outside the mining reserve.
My vision of the future is progress. There's not one of our forefathers that would have stopped a mine anywhere in this country. People need to know that they can't have their superannuation or their pensions if someone doesn't create wealth.
Tom Koutsantonis says the company has grant money to explore other areas in Burra outside of the heritage zone, and he wants them to do that. The local heritage groups say it would have their support, but others don't see the point.
Well, if you're in the exploration game, you need to look where you know the mineral is. It's no good looking where it isn't. So we know there's mineral here, and that's where you need to look.
Matt Riley is a major shareholder in Phoenix Copper, and so the decision affects him. He says he spent $300,000 of his own money drilling around here before he passed his interest to Phoenix. In 2007, Matt Riley says the local council and the Department of Primary Industries gave him approval to drill near and within the heritage zone.
The minority groups have the say. In other words, the tail is wagging the dog. It shouldn't be that way. And if the Minister decides not to let us in, well, I'll probably have to get legal advice and see where I stand. I'm not going to give in.
He may have a document, but ultimately this is a ministerial decision done by the Governor and Executive Council, and the reserve has not been lifted. So it is not within the purview of any public servant to allow mining exploration in that zone.
The decision comes after the government earlier this year put Arkaroola out of reach of mining. The minister argues public support is crucial to mining. The industry argues there's a risk of damaging confidence.
I think if they aren't prepared to come back to the table and actually talk about it more, then it will damage the government's pro-mining credentials. It's quite clear we've given him additional information today, and I think with more time, I think perhaps he would view that decision differently.
I think what I'm doing as a custodian of the industry, as a regulator, is making sure that mining can prosper into the future. I am saving them from the worst elements of themselves. Not to say that the proponents of the Burra Monster Mine are the worst elements, they are not, they are very good explorers. I just do not think we can carry the people of South Australia along with us.
Phoenix Copper has told the ABC it does not understand the reasoning behind the decision and is disappointed by it. The company, however, is still committed to exploring outside the heritage zone for copper. Whether Phoenix can or will appeal the decision remains to be seen. Burra, like most country centres, still faces the question of which way to the future.
I think it's now time for us to genuinely work together as a community and ensure Burra's future.